Welcome back to Psych Vids. Today, we are asking, what is survivorship bias? To really get what that means, we're going to start with a puzzle, a super high-stakes problem from the Second World War, where getting the answer right was literally a matter of life and death.
Okay, so put yourself in this situation. It's World War II. You need to make your bombers stronger, but you can't just armor the whole thing. It'd be way too heavy to even fly. So you look at the planes that actually make it back, and you notice something. There's a clear pattern. The bullet holes are all over the wings, the tail, the main body, but the cockpit and the engines, they're mostly untouched. So here's the million-dollar question. Where do you add that precious armor?
Now, the obvious answer, right, the one that just jumps out at you is you reinforce the spots that are getting hit the most. It just makes sense. You patch the holes you can see. The military commanders thought so too. They were all set to start welding extra armor onto the wings and fuselage of every single plane. But that completely logical conclusion, it was dangerously, catastrophically wrong.
And this is where a mathematician named Abraham Wald comes in and just completely flips the script. He had this brilliant, totally counterintuitive insight. He realized that the most important evidence wasn't what he could see on the planes in front of him. See those bullet holes? They actually showed where a plane could get hit and still make it home. The real, crucial data came from the planes that never returned. Where were they hit? Well, they were hit in all the places with no bullet holes on the survivors. The engines, the cockpit. The armor had to go where the holes weren't.
This incredible insight, it isn't just about old warplanes. It actually unmasks this huge, hidden flaw in how we think, every single day. Wald's realization gives a name to one of the sneakiest mental traps we fall into.
And that flaw has a name: survivorship bias. It's this simple, logical error, where we focus all our attention on the people or things that survived, the planes that came back, the businesses that succeeded, the people who won, and we completely ignore the ones that didn't. Why? Well, because they're invisible. They're at the bottom of the ocean. They aren't around to give interviews.
And this is how our view of reality gets so twisted. We see a world that looks like it's full of winners because, well, the winners are all that's left to see. We're constantly studying the highlight reel, but we completely ignore the massive graveyard of failures, the dropouts, the businesses, and the dreams that just didn't make it.
But look, this is way more than just a cool history lesson. That exact same mental mistake that almost cost countless lives back then is quietly sabotaging our own decisions today, in business, in our health, in our personal lives, every single day.
I mean, just think about it. We all hear that story about the college dropout who became a billionaire, and we think, hey, maybe I should quit school, but we totally ignore the 10,000 other dropouts who went bankrupt. We scroll past influencers living this perfect dream life and feel like our life is a mess, forgetting the thousands who tried and burned out with 200 followers. We see one person who got absolutely shredded on some new fad diet, so we copy it, never seeing the hundreds of others who got zero results or even hurt themselves. We are constantly studying the wrong data.
Let's put a hard number on this. Something like 90% of all new startups fail. 90. Yet pretty much every business book, every conference, every podcast you listen to is exclusively focused on the secrets of the 10% that actually succeeded. We're basically studying lottery winners to learn about financial planning. It's kind of nuts when you think about it.
Okay, so why are our brains so wired to fall for this? Well, there are a few key reasons. First, there's something called the availability heuristic. Basically, a dramatic, vivid story about a billionaire is just way easier for our brain to remember than the thousands of quiet stories about failed businesses. Second, we have a narrative bias. We just love a good story, right? A simple hero's journey where you can follow a formula to success is so much more comforting than admitting that random luck plays a huge part. And finally, confirmation bias. We want to believe that success is a simple recipe, so we go looking for stories that confirm that belief.
And this bias, it doesn't just lead to bad strategies. It has a real, tangible, emotional price tag. It sets every single one of us up for this constant, completely unwinnable comparison game.
You know, when all you see are the winners, your expectations for your own life can become completely unrealistic. You start comparing your messy, complicated, behind-the-scenes reality to someone else's perfectly polished highlight reel. And then, when you inevitably fall short of that impossible standard, it leads straight to self-blame. You feel like you're the only one who can't seem to figure it out.
Seriously, have you ever caught yourself thinking that? If they built a huge company from their garage, why can't I? Or, if they lost 50 pounds on that diet, why isn't it working for me? That feeling right there in your gut, that is the psychological price of survivorship bias. You're comparing yourself to a ghost, to a story that's missing all the most important parts.
Okay, but here's the good news, the really good news.
Once you learn to see this bias, you can't unsee it, and you can start building some simple mental tools to fight back, to see the whole picture, not just the flattering snapshot that everyone else is looking at.
So here's your toolkit. 3 simple, actionable steps. Number 1, actively seek the graveyard. When you read about a big success, go looking for the failures. Ask what went wrong for them. Number 2, always ask what's missing here. Whenever you see a success story, ask yourself who isn't being interviewed? What data am I not seeing? And number 3, this is a great one. Practice a pre-mortem. Before you start a big project, imagine it has already failed spectacularly. Then work backward and figure out all the things that could have killed it. You're basically looking for the bullet holes before you even take off.
So the next time you're tempted to copy the morning routine of some CEO or the investment strategy of a billionaire, just pause. Remember Abraham Wald and the planes that never came home. Because sometimes success is a terrible teacher. The most valuable lessons are often hidden in the silence of the graveyard.
Subscribe so you don't miss an episode.